Right, this is a subject which I know a lot of people are salty as well as passionate about. So I would ask that if you're going to leave a comment or try and spark a debate about this, watch the entire video so you get the full breadth of my thinking rather than just hearing 2 minutes into it and then going, yep, this guy's an idiot, and then just heading to the comments and drooling everywhere. Raid and legendary exotics or exclusives in the DZ. This is an inherently bad thing. It's a very bad thing from a gaming perspective. It's a bad thing from a community perspective. And it's a bad thing for the longevity of a game perspective. Typically, games that have done this have given up on their actual game, and it tends to be the beginning of the end. Simply just because they can't be bothered fixing things, so we'll just make it a thing. Look at that, raid exotics dropping in the DZ. We're not going to fix it, we'll just now make it an actual legit thing. Brilliant. Now, some of you are going to be going, oh, but I'm a solo player and have no interest in the raids, I'll never get these. And? What's your point? Destiny has raid exclusives, no one complains there. World of Warcraft has raid and mythic dungeon exclusives, no one complains there. Diablo, like there is a plethora of games. Any game that requires grinding and loot has exclusives. People get on with it. Hell, like even just keeping it in the realms of Division. If we go back to how the game was, okay, for exclusivity. We have in PvE, Eaglebearer, Ravenous, Bighorn, Regulus. That's it. Now for PvP, we have Manic, the Rail Splitter, Black Friday, Good Times, The Apartment, Dark Winter, Rock and Roll, The Virginian. Oh, don't worry, I'm not done. Everlasting Gaze, Harmony, Pinprick, Orbit, TDI Custom Card, The Hollow Man, Liquid Engineer, Matador. The Gift, Devil's Due, Ferocious Calm, Door Kicker's Knock, Death Grips, Claws Out, Emperor's Guard. Now, I too, 9 times out of 10, am a solo player. I typically only join groups if I'm being tasked to help with a raid or if I need help doing a video because it's like a multiplayer styled build or an effect in multiplayer. Other than that, I'm solo. I also abhorrently detest with every fibre of my being PvP in any game. I just don't like it. My personal choice. So why am I being subjected to do PvP to get these items? And there's a lot more of them. There's like 23 DZ exclusives when there's 4 PvE exclusives. To me, this makes no sense adding them into DZ loot pools. Like, what's now the point? Next, we're going to get all the DZ exclusives into PvE. I've actually gone to forums and Reddit posts and whatnot years ago, like being like the way they've done DZ with DZ exclusives is actually really shit and bad. And the amount of backlash I get is, oh, but then you're just cancelling out the point of the DZ. Like the idea of DZ is to like high risk, high reward. Well, same could be said for legendary missions to get Bighorn. Same could be said for raid exclusives, high risk, high reward. Like, oh, but I'm a solo player, so am I. I still went into the DZ to get pretty much all of these items. And yes, we do get events of where we're able to get some of these items in caches. Now, if they said that they were adding Bighorn, Eaglebearer, Ravenous into exotic cache loot drops, I actually genuinely wouldn't have a problem with that, because that's still like a very minute chance of you actually getting one, as the same it is with me getting Hollow Man with a crit roll, which I'm bloody desperate for. And whenever Mask comes up in the DZ, I go to the DZ and I farm it to no avail. I still have to jump through those hoops. I'm sorry, but you being a solo player and not having to do raids, tough luck, cupcake, jump through those hoops. It also then leads back into the point of people saying to me, well, if I want the DZ exclusives, I'm going to have to go to the DZ. So I did. And if they remove those DZ exclusives, it negates and removes the point of having the DZ in the first place. Well, putting the raid exclusives out of the raid also removes the point behind doing the raid in the first place. It's the reason we actually have things like drop chances in games like this. You play these sorts of games for the grind so that you're able to get longevity out of it. If you just jumped into the game and within 10 minutes you got everything you wanted, ta-da, there's your build, you probably wouldn't play it as much or if ever again. So putting them into the DZ just negates the need for them even having raids in the first place. You then also have the group of people, much like myself, a little bit of a collector in them. They like to get at least one of everything, regardless of how bad it is, etc, etc. And once they've got them all, that's kind of them done. It's kind of like the achievements or Steam achievements or whatever. Once you've 100%ed it, that's you done. So once these people have farmed out the DZ to get their eagle bearers and their big horns, etc, etc, that's going to be them done for the game. Where you possibly could have got another 100 hours out of them if they just had to jump through the hoops and get into the bloody raid. Typically, things like this start happening, or developers start doing things like this when they're giving up on the game. Like, they see no point in fixing things, so they just make the bugs bearable, and just to try and get that final little stretch out of the game so that people have as little complaints as possible and they can say that they ended on a high note. Just because there were things. That's simply it. So the developers adding in raid exclusives into the DZ, I could be completely wrong, but I'm seeing it as an absolute beginning of the end, because if they're going to add raid exclusives into the DZ, then what's the next step? Adding DZ exclusives into PvE, which, as annoying as it is, I don't actually really want, because it's something different for me to do from time to time. I very rarely go into the DZ, but I'm desperate for that Hollow Man with crit. So I will go into the DZ, which must, at some point, bolster up their numbers, because I'm assuming I'm not the only person that does this. But then if they add Hollow Man to general open world mask loot, then they're only really hurting themselves, just because simply the simple fact of the matter is, all the non-PvP players that grind the game out either in DZ or come on exclusively to farm events to get these DZ exclusives no longer have the need to do this. So they've shortened each individual person's lifespan within the game. The end result being less people play. And considering they've just released the game on Steam, I'm assuming the last thing they actually want is for no one to actually play the game. Then adding into the simple fact of, as I'm talking to several people in Discord while I'm making this video, so many of them are not coming back to the game because Wild Hearts, Hogwarts Legacy, Sons of the Forest, there's another one, Wolong. Apparently it's only a demo, but it's made by Koei. It's another Elden Ring, Souls-like, open world, gonna get killed in 2 seconds type game. People are more interested in playing these types of games because this game is already suffering from a longevity issue. There are very few people left playing this game and they're just throwing things about willy-nilly. So yeah, this isn't going to bode well for them. They should keep the raid exclusives in the raid. And as much as it pains me to say, they should keep the DZ exclusives in the DZ. If you want to add the raid exclusives to the exotic cash drops, I'd have no dramas with that. I don't think a lot of people would, because it's still one chance. Like, I don't know, it's like 6 chances per week. And yeah, it's a very, very high loot pool. You're not going to get what you're after. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.